Hello, my name is Sean Rhodes, and I want to welcome you to this episode of Awaken to the Inner Warrior. If you're here today with me, listening to this, watching me on screen, it's not by accident. Now, as a matter of fact, your entire life has led you to this moment. And how I know that is because I know a few things about you. You see, you're trying to live a mission. You're trying to live on purpose. You're trying to make decisions that are the best for you, for your relationships, for your career. And it's led you here today. Now, the mission, this inner drive, this purpose that you feel inside of you, there's a reason that you're not living it. And it comes down to the very society that we live in. You see, we're not set up, we're not structured to allow people to live their inner purpose, their inner mission. Because to do that, you would have people that could not be controlled. And believe it or not, our entire educational system here in the West is set up to control people, to get them into a box and to get them to do what they're told. And they do that by instilling one value. You know what that value is? It's fear. And it's fear of just one thing. It's fear of failure. You see, from a very young age, we are taught to fear trying to live our mission, trying to be on purpose with our lives and failing at it. Because that to us would be the ultimate failure, wouldn't it? It would be putting ourselves out there into the universe, into the world, with our passions and our hopes and our dreams, and then to have them crushed. Well, yeah, that would be pretty bad. That would destroy us at a very fundamental level. And so we're taught from a young age to not do that. We're taught to be very careful about how we set ourselves into the world, to be very fearful, to always look for everybody else's opinion before we really go out and do something original, before we make the choices that we feel like would help us be more alive and passionate and on purpose in our lives. So what type of person lives that kind of life? Well, I call them warriors. And a warrior, above all else, lives every day that passion, that drive that they feel inside of them. They live on purpose. And you may be asking yourself, well, who are you to tell me about living on purpose? Who are you to tell me that I've been living in fear my whole life? Well, I can say this to you today because I'm a living example of what it's like to fail as every level of a human being can fail. You see, from a very young age, I wanted to be a warrior. I wanted to be the person that could go out there in the world and give what I had inside of me to everyone around me, to help people, to live passionately and on purpose. And so I sought those that were living that kind of life, hoping to learn from them, hoping to get a glimpse into their mind, their psychology, to see how they were appearing every day in the world, how they were bringing themselves and what they had to the world around them. And so in 2003 and 2004, I found myself as a war correspondent on the front lines of Iraq. And I was there with U.S. Marines, reporting on what they were doing and also living among them as a Marine. And so I had a rifle in one hand and a camera in the other. And it was my job to capture the stories of what these Marines were doing and get them back to organizations like Time and MSNBC so that the world would know what these Marines were up to. And I found myself in this position where every single day I was in fear of my life. Now that's nothing strange for a Marine. The very unique job I had as a war correspondent, though, meant that I was never pulled off the front line. A lot of infantrymen were allowed to go back and refit and recuperate. They were allowed to get meals and showers. But as a war correspondent, I was just sent from one battle to another, so that for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for months on end, I was in combat. The psychological toll that this took on me of living in fear of my life, of never knowing if the next bullet or the next mortar round was going to have my name on it, really made me examine things. And I realized that most of all, I didn't want to die there. And so as soon as I got the stories, the pictures that I needed, I would go hide behind something so that my life wouldn't be in danger anymore. The problem with that is that I was failing as a warrior, because not only did the Marines around me have to worry about fighting the enemy, they had to worry about me hiding behind something, making sure I didn't get left behind, making sure I wasn't wounded. And so I was failing in every way that a human being could fail. I was not showing up presently. I was a liability to the people around me. I was like baggage for them to have to carry. And that was one of the lowest points in my life because I wasn't being what I wanted to be in the world. And so something turned it around for me. There was a philosophy, a way of living that I began practicing that showed me that being afraid of failure, of not making my contribution to the world, wasn't a way that I had to live anymore. There was another way. I could choose to live as a warrior, as somebody that shows up presently in the world. And so I began studying warrior cultures, not only the Marines that I was with, but the samurai, the Kung Fu masters in China, martial artists around the world that are able to bring a warrior mindset to modern life to accomplish the things that they set out to do. And so in my travels that took me all over the world, I was able to study as a traditional martial arts student in dojos that were hundreds of years old, in places where martial arts were founded, where the spiritual aspects of what martial artists were doing were taught right alongside the physical aspects. And it was then I discovered that the classical warrior, the one that's tribal in nature, the one that says, I'm here to protect my family and the things that I love, could exist alongside the martial warrior, the one that was an expert in bringing violence against their enemies. You see, when you put those two together, you have a warrior that's integrated. You have someone that not only can protect themselves and those they love physically, but can also be spiritually whole and emotionally present and bring everything that they have into the world. They can bring that passion, that purpose, that drive to their present days. And it's that type of warrior that I'd like to teach you to awaken through these series, through the videos, through the podcasts, through the blog posts, through the book reviews. I'm going to bring to you everything that I've learned about what it means to be present and alive as a modern warrior. And so I hope that you'll subscribe by going to awakentheinnerwarrior.com, signing up for these updates where you'll get fresh content, book reviews, everything that I've been able to gather from travel to more than 24 countries and from more than 2 decades of experience studying what it is that makes up a modern warrior. So it's been a pleasure to speak with you today, and I hope that you'll tune in soon. We're going to be going over the psychology, the physical practice, the spiritual practice, and all of the things that make up what a modern warrior is.